Welcome to our November webinar on Winter Sowing 101. I'm so thrilled to have you guys join us today, and I'm really glad that, at least so far, technology seems to be working pretty smoothly. In today's session, I want to explore the topic of winter sowing native plant seeds with you guys. I'm hoping to cover what winter sowing is, why it's effective, the benefits it offers, especially as it pertains to native plants, and how to get started. Everything I'm sharing comes from my personal experience and lessons learned. But please remember that this isn't necessarily the only way or the correct way that has to be done for winter sowing. A couple housekeeping reminders. The webinar is designed to last about 30 to 45 minutes, though I do kind of have a tendency to talk quickly, especially when I'm a little bit nervous. A recording will be available on our YouTube channel for those who can't attend live. Let's dive in. I'm Bobbi Hartzock. I'm the chapter president of the Erie Drift Plains Wildwood chapter. I was newly appointed in April or May this year, so I'm still getting my feet under me, but I'm glad this is the first webinar where I've been able to actually have live attendees because the tech worked. At Wildwoods, we're dedicated to fostering connections between people and native plants to create a healthier, more resilient environment right here in northwestern Pennsylvania and northeastern Ohio. This winter will mark my third experience with overwintering native plant seeds, giving me 2 years of hands-on experience in winter sowing, and I'm thrilled to be here to share everything that I've learned with you over the past couple years, as well as what I'm doing to prep for my winter sowing season this year. Today's kind of roadmap will look like an introduction to winter sowing. We'll begin by discussing what winter sowing is, why it's particularly effective for native plants. We'll go over your essential supplies that you need, how to prepare your containers, and provide a detailed step-by-step guide. I will touch base on some recommended native species that you can plant this winter. I'll highlight which ones thrive when winter sown in the Erie Drift Plains ecoregion. This list is not an all-exclusive list. As we all know, native plants just do really well. They're designed to winter sow themselves outside, so it's just a couple of the highlights that are easiest that I've worked with in the past. And then we'll go over some troubleshooting and transplanting tips. We'll cover common challenges, the tips that you can use for transplanting next spring, and ways to engage in local seed sharing within your community. What is winter sowing? I like to think of it as letting the wintertime nature do its hard work for you. You're basically deceiving your seeds into believing it's winter by planting them in recycled mini greenhouse containers outdoors. Winter sowing allows Mother Nature to take the lead, as she should, but it gives you a little bit more control instead of just scattering them. You have control on what gets planted, the quantity that gets planted. You can move your seedlings around. You can protect them from pests. In my yard, we have a lot of chipmunks that tend to eat our seeds that we just throw out into the yard. So those are the benefits of winter sowing, but it gives you that control. Winter sowing seeds means we're using outdoor temperatures to coax seeds into their germination, just like they would in their native habitat. We're simply repurposing various recycled containers, and we end up creating a greenhouse with really minimal effort and expense. Winter sowing is basically ideal for gardeners without grow lights, those with limited space both indoors or out, any kind of classroom projects, or anyone looking to create a lush native plant garden or just rewild their yard with native plants on a budget, because we all know plugs and established plants cost a lot of money. So having winter sowing at our disposal to grow a lot of seeds at once to fill our yards or our gardens is a great way. Mother Nature, though, is the big backdrop, right? She has it all under control. Seeds that thrive in cold conditions will sprout when they're ready. There is no need for any kind of indoor setups, no grow lights, no shenanigans. You just put them in containers and magically the seeds grow. But why does winter sowing work? On a very high-level overview, this is ideal for native plants because a lot of native plants benefit from cold stratification. Many native seeds thrive during the winter because they need to experience that natural freeze-thaw cycle, and they need these cycles to break their dormancy effect and to help them break their outer shell in order to allow for germination. This also provides protection against dampening off in the spring and indoor mold because they have the cold, fresh air from outside because you leave the tops off your jugs. There is no need for any extra lights, no need for heat mats, no need for controlling the humidity, no dedicated indoor space. And since it effectively mimics natural conditions, the outcome is often stronger, more resilient seedlings than those that would be started indoors where they're a little bit more fragile. This method also safeguards against pests like birds, mice, voles, and chipmunks, and it eliminates the hassle of any kind of extra maintenance, really, either indoor or outdoor. You won't really even have to water your plants if you get enough snow. There are several advantages of winter sowing, especially in our Erie Drift Plains ecoregion. We find ourselves in an ideal situation in Northeast Ohio and Northwest Pennsylvania. We actually get a lot of snow, I think all the way down to like I-80, the end of like Mercer County. We're all considered kind of in the snow belt. Yes, Erie and like up near Columbus get a lot more snow than some of us do, but we do get a lot of snow. So our cold winters effectively stratify these seeds, and we benefit from that abundant moisture in the snow. That snowfall also provides insulation, hydration, and temperature moderation inside of our little mini recycled greenhouses that we're building. Winter sowing also enhances our access to several different local ecotype seeds, which can often be challenging to source from nurseries around us, especially in our more rural areas. Winter sowing also offers a wonderful opportunity for our chapter and our entire community to cultivate more native plants at a very affordable price. We are mimicking local conditions for these local species. We're providing natural stratification with our cold winters. Our snow cover ends up giving our seeds insulation and moisture. This can help increase germination success of more challenging native seeds that might need that freeze-thaw cycle, especially ones that might be harder to start. This is probably the most affordable and low-waste propagation method outside of maybe cuttings from your own yard that you can do for native plants. It's perfect for those looking to bulk sow, especially those aimed at habitat restoration. And we all know native plants in general encourage biodiversity and community seed sharing. And this also can serve as a great educational activity for families, schools, or community groups because the timing isn't really super specific. Like you can do it whenever you want. Let's discuss the supplies that you'll need. The wonderful thing about winter sowing is that it really doesn't require any extravagant or extra materials. You'll likely have almost everything you need. Clean plastic containers, these can be milk jugs, water jugs, 2-liter bottles, clear takeout containers. Really, all of these are excellent options. Honestly, anything deep enough for root development that allows for about 3 to 4 inches of soil will be perfect. In the past, we've actually utilized those half-gallon coated cardboard milk containers, like we drink oat milk in our house, so those kind of containers, because they're tall enough that when you cut them in half, you can still add the 3 to 4 inches of soil. If you happen to have any kind of taller seed starting trays with those dome greenhouse lids, like you would start vegetable seeds in your garden, you can use those as well. Remember, there's really no need to reinvent the wheel here. We're simply using what we already have. In addition to your container, you'll need potting mix, duct tape, a Sharpie and labels, scissors or utility knife, and of course your seeds. It's important to choose potting mix because garden soil, if you're taking it from your garden, or compost can be a little bit too heavy, carry pathogens, or hold too much water. And I talked about it a lot on our seed saving webinar, but labeling your seeds, whether you're just collecting seeds or you're starting winter sowing seeds, is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, everything will look the same come February, March, April when things start to sprout, and we don't want to get confused about the sun or the soil requirements that our seeds have when we can't identify them. For your container preparation, we want to poke 6 to 8 drainage holes in the bottom of your container. So if you're imagining a gallon-sized container that you would have for milk or a gallon-sized bucket of water, you're going to poke 6 to 8 drainage holes in the bottom. We use the drill for ours. It makes it really easy. You're going to cut the container in half. You want to make sure you're leaving a hinge. So you're only going to cut it 3/4 of the way around the container. On a gallon jug, if you leave the hinge on the handle side, that's the best, sturdiest spot to leave the hinge. You're then going to add 3 to 4 inches of slightly moistened potting soil, and you're going to sow the seeds according to the type of seed that you're planting. Many native seeds need light to germinate, so we don't want to bury them. You don't want to poke them into the soil. You don't want to put more soil on top of them. Normally, they just get scattered on top. You're going to lightly mist your seeds with some water. You're going to label your species with the name and the date that you planted them. You're going to close your hinge, tape it shut with the duct tape, and you're going to remove the top cap if it's still available. You don't want to put that on. And then you're going to place them outside in a protected area until spring. When you place them outside, full sun is preferred for optimal growth, and you want to make sure you're ensuring protection from any kind of pets or deer, anything that could knock them over and disturb your seeds. You want to avoid positioning them directly under your eaves because the snow is beneficial and it does provide moisture to your containers. You can take your containers outside right away. There's really no need to wait for any kind of specific temperature. They can handle snow, rain, freezing rain, all of those. You want to position them so that they get that sunlight. A south-facing spot is perfect. When you have your containers set, you're really only going to water them if the soil looks dry. After the last frost in the spring, you're going to open your jugs. You'll start hardening them off that way. And then you'll transplant the seedlings when they develop 2 to 3 real leaves. There really is no need, or very minimal need, depending on how much snow or rain we get, to babysit these containers. They will get the temperatures, the sunlight, and the moisture they need without you moving them throughout the winter, without you babying them. There's no need to bring them inside at all, even if the temperatures are going to get really cold or you might have a warmer snap, especially the last couple of years. I think we've had some warmer snaps in February and early March. No need to touch them. They're going to grow exactly as nature intended. So timing is really important, but it's worth noting it's similar to many aspects of nature. Winter sowing has a very generous window for starting your seeds. Many prairie wildflowers thrive with winter sowing. These include milkweeds, coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, bee balm, asters, Joe pieweed, a whole bunch of them. These are all plants that favor cold stratification. Warm season grasses like little bluestem and switchgrass are also great options. And then species such as button bushes, serviceberries, redbuds, and oaks will adapt very well to winter sowing. That's how they thrive in nature. Some chipmunk or squirrel, berries, and acorn. It lives through the winter and germinates in the spring. These plants have evolved to germinate with these natural winter cycles, making winter sowing an ideal method for them. As far as the timeline goes, the best time, the quote-unquote best time, would be from December to February. Once you get into like early March, most of these winter sown seed need about 60 to 90 days of the cold weather. And so once you get into early March, you're going to start running into, do you have that 90-day window before our last frost starts at the end of May normally? So between December and February, perfect timing to prepare and sow your containers. This allows nature to stratify your seeds. And then in the early spring, you'll be able to watch for sprouts as temperatures start to rise above freezing. At the end of May and early June, you'll be able to transplant your seedlings into your garden. And then next summer and fall, you'll actually have beautiful, pretty well-developed plants with robust roots because they got to have that overwintered period. What doesn't normally work for winter sowing seeds are annuals. These reseed pretty easily. They come up really fast in the spring. You don't really need to give them the extra winter sowing stratifications. Any kind of tender perennials that can't really handle frost or that would die back with a frost if you had planted them, you don't need to worry about winter sowing those as well. And then anything labeled seed packet wise that says start indoors like 4 or even maybe 8 weeks before the last frost, you probably don't have to worry about those too much. We're really looking at those 90 to like 120 kind of days needed for winter sowing. We did talk about caring for your jugs a little bit, but there's really minimal maintenance required. It's one of my favorite aspects of winter sowing. We're going to keep the lids off to allow moisture, such as snow or rain, to get in. You'll rarely need to water, especially if we get a normal, typical winter over here. But if you do find that your soil is completely dry, a light watering is really acceptable. Again, there's no need to bring your containers inside. Freezing temperatures won't cause them any harm, and this method really is designed to mimic nature and be as hands-off as possible. We will delve a little bit deeper into transplanting, hopefully in an upcoming webinar, but here are some essential tips for success. We want to harden off our containers by gradually opening them for, 1 hour at a time and then slowly transitioning to 2 hours and then getting to a full day. When you're taking your seeds out of your winter sown containers, you're going to lift them carefully because their roots will be very robust. Native plants love being planted in clusters. They thrive in groups, so we're going to make sure we plant in clusters, and that will minimize the amount of root playing with that you have to do to get them all separated. Once they're in the ground, you'll water your native plants to get them acclimated and established in their permanent home. But after that, we all know native plants are incredibly resilient, especially when they're winter sown, and you won't have to babysit them for too much longer. You're going to lightly mulch your plants and ensure you avoid burying the stems. Common issues that stem from seed starting include using seed starting mix instead of a potting soil, insufficient draining or lack of ventilation, overwatering or oversowing, and forgetting to label your containers. We've got some fixes for some of these. If you notice mold on your soil surface, don't worry, it's a totally common occurrence, and all you have to do is provide more airflow by opening the container. You can gently scrape off any fuzz. If you don't see any germination though, keep in mind that some species do require a longer cold period, so they might not be ready to germinate yet. And some of them do require actually 2 cold-thaw cycles, so they might sprout after a second winter. Other common mistakes that we typically see and we have to troubleshoot are algae on our soil. This is totally harmless. It just indicates moisture is present and the soil is getting light. Your seedlings, when they pop up, might be leggy. If they do appear leggy, it normally means that they need a little bit more sunlight. And if you have slow seedlings, again, remember they're developing their roots before they're producing leaves, thus making stronger plants for us. We did talk about on our last webinar how to collect and store native seeds, but just a quick highlight and overview. We're going to collect native seeds ethically, either from your own yard or with landowner permission. We're going to make sure they're dry and, if needed, clean. And we're going to label them because, again, all seeds end up looking the same when you have so many of them. Storing in paper envelopes in a cool, dry place is the best way to store them. And if you are buying seeds instead of collecting them, Ernst Seeds, Ohio Prairie Native Seeds, and Wild Ones Chapter Seed Swaps are great local sources to try. I've also had great success with Prairie Moon and Prairie Nursery online. They are both more Midwest oriented, and some of their seeds aren't native to our area, but most of them are. So if you're really needing a seed and you can't find it anywhere else, they are a good resource to have. This year I did collect a whole bunch of seeds from our yard: swamp milkweed, tick seed, ironweed, oxeye sunflower, black-eyed Susans, prairie coneflower. All of these are going to be great when I try to winter sow them, probably next month. We typically have a lot more time to try to do gardening things as we near the end of the year. So I'm excited to get them winter sown next month. I think that's really most of the information I have for you guys. I hope this is the start of your winter sowing journey this year. If you'd like to keep learning, you can connect with our chapter, you can attend future Erie Drift Plains webinars, or you can join us for local habitat restoration projects. I do have some talks in the work, nothing planned yet, but we also love when members in our community share photos of their winter sowing setups and seedlings. It helps inspire others into our community. So if you learned about this event on Facebook, you are more than welcome to share your winter sown seeds and your setups with us on the Facebook page. Winter isn't really the end of growth. It's not really the death of a season or the year. It's really the quiet rest period before the beginning. It's a rest time for these plants before they sprout and do amazing in the spring. Thank you so much for joining us today. Winter sowing is such an empowering way to grow native plants, and we're really thrilled that you're here and you're a part of this with us. If you'd like more resources, you can find us at our chapter website. On Facebook, you can join us, you can subscribe to our newsletter, or you can even reach out to our email at any time. And if you're interested in joining or getting involved, we'd really love to have you. Have a wonderful evening and happy winter sowing.